My wife and I were like paycheck to paycheck. We realized if we like cut all the fun in our life and did absolutely nothing, we could save $500 a month. We started doing all this math. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. Like, I ask yourself, like, what do you need the money for? The comfort that you have may just not be worth it. But if you have a family that you want to provide for, they also enjoy their life. You going out in the hot sun, walking around, knocking on doors, and maybe a dog, maybe a gun gets pulled on you, maybe the cops get like, you decide if that discomfort is worth making more money than making less money.
Hi, I'm Tim, real estate agent, veteran, and author of The Freedom Agent. You're listening to the Freedom Agent podcast, where we help agents stop being the bottleneck in their business. Through conversations, stories, and real strategies, we'll show you how to scale smarter and finally take back your time.
All right, everybody, welcome here to the Freedom Agent podcast. I've got Tristen Adams here today with us from Northeast Georgia. I believe that's Flowery Branch, Gainesville, Bulford. Was that Lake Lanier?
Buford, Lake Lanier.
All right, sweet. Well, I was close. Let's see. You have been able to do 33 sales in the last 12 months. It's awesome. 53 total so far, approximately around 452,000 average price point. That's amazing, man.
I think the trailing 12 is like 48 transactions. And
all right.
2025 was 33 transactions.
Okay. Well, that's amazing because in that year we had 72% of the industry didn't do any deals. So you're freaking rocking it, dude. And we're freaking excited to have you here. You've been in here for about 3 years in the industry. Is that right?
Close. August 7th will be 3 years.
Okay. Well, we're going to give you the extra time then. Formerly a Chick-fil-A leader with 6 to 7 years leadership experience, transitioned into real estate. And your big thing is content. I love the content, attraction content. So I'm excited to chat with you about that. YouTube, local market expertise. So we are excited for you to be on here, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. So what I would like to first ask is just kind of walk me through how you got into real estate and that moment when things finally start clicking.
So almost 3 years to what's today? The 23rd. So 3 years and a month ago, I think it was like May 23rd had it been 2023. I was like, I'm doing nothing. I'm not like a depressive person, but then I was like a little depressed because I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, because I started to add up like what would it cost to like get into a house. My wife and I were like paycheck to paycheck, and we realized if we like cut all the fun in our life and did absolutely nothing, we could save $500 a month, and that would be $6,000. And then it would take 3 years to save up to $18,000 to finally have a down payment on a house. In which case, by then the house prices. So like we started doing all this math, and I was like, this is kind of crazy. Like, how do we get out of this? And this was me working a job and then a second job at the end. Like, so it is not nonsense. But I had paid for a real estate course the year before, and it was a 1-year course. So it expired, I think June 23rd, actually. I think that's the date, something like that. And so I was like, well, I have a month to finish it. And I was like, I'm already paid for it. Might as well finish it. Well, then I finished it and I was like, well, I might as well take the test, Then I took the test and I was like, well, I might as well sign up with a brokerage, And at that time it was Keller Williams. That's the only thing I knew. And then once I signed up with a brokerage, I realized there was $100 a month monthly fee. And I was like, dude, we're already paycheck to paycheck like this. I'm figuring this thing out. So I had no money to pay for leads. I didn't know what to do. Somebody told me about for sale by owners because they're on Zillow. It's free. And so I was like, and also the job I was working, it was I was in a call center. So I was already taking phone calls and I was like, well, shoot, I mean, it can't be that hard. It was very hard. It was not the same as a call center where it's inbound leads. I was outbound, like totally different, but I was like, sure. So then finally I called pretty much religiously every single day. I would go to work at 7 p.m. I would be home at 3 a.m. because it was like a weird hour job. I'd go to bed. I'd wake up at noon and then I would cold call until about 4, go to the gym, then go back to work. And it was nonstop. Told my wife, I was like, hey, I'm just not going to see you until we eventually get enough money to like, I can quit this job. I took Saturdays off. I still do. Don't work Saturdays so that I could just spend time with her because I knew I didn't see her the other times because we're pretty much working 2 full-time jobs, full-time real estate, full-time this other job. And then when I was at the other job, I was doing everything I could to like line up my day the next day, gathering my list. I was super inefficient. I had no clue what I was doing, but then it was like, this is what I was doing. And then eventually got my first deal, and second and third and fourth, and then eventually quit and stuff.
That's awesome, man. So Yeah, you definitely hit that grind hard and broke through. What would you say in that? Was it FISBOs, or what was it that what was the lane that you went down that initially that it finally gave you that relief that, oh, real estate is my full-time gig?
It was purely FISBOs. So my first whole
FISBO?
year up in the
Okay.
business, I built my entire business off of FISBOs, and it was I think I took 27, I think that's the number, 27 listings in my first full 12 months, just FISBOs. Some of them didn't close because I took them at like a way too high of a price. Like, I was still figuring all this stuff out, but I closed most of them. And I've never cut my commission, never then, not even with FISBOs, not today. Like I had the opportunity to take probably 35, 40 listings if I had taken a 2% or 2.5%, but it's just like, I'm not building I only had so much time in a day. So I was like, if I'm going to be working with somebody because I'm working another job, I was like, I might as well make the most. And then, yeah, like if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, whatever.
I love that. Only so much time in the day, so let's get what I'm worth. I love that. All right, cool. Let me go into my next question here. Now that you've been in this, right, and you're cruising here, 48 here in the last month, last rolling 12 months, which is amazing given the market that we're in. What would you say is the one thing that most agents get wrong that you figured out?
Follow up. They think, like one of my mentor kind of explained it to me. Maybe it was like a year ago or so, but and then this was the problem I had with FISBOs when I first started, was like, I was always calling, trying to throw a touchdown. And, like he said, how many times throughout a whole season do you get a 70-yard, 80-yard gain? I mean, like maybe 1 to 5 times, throughout a whole season. But you could get a 3-yard gain, 5-yard gain, 2-yard loss, 2-yard loss, 5-yard gain. And eventually, like, you'll run it down and get a touchdown. And that's the way he explained it. And that's exactly what's played out with follow-up. I did a bunch of follow-up today, and none of it turned into anything. But it's just like, I made contact, provided value, on to the next, and just running people through. And so I think some people they're like, I've got to set this appointment. I've got to close because I don't have enough money coming in. And so they never really set the business up correctly. So they're always looking for the long shot.
Right. So you said follow-up. What are you using to track what you're doing for follow-up?
Follow Boss, for
Follow
sure.
Boss? Okay.
For sure.
Did you create your own custom campaign, or how are you doing that?
No, it's super Neanderthal. I'm sure if you looked at it, you'd be like, this is really, like, this is all you do. I just create a task, and the task will say John Smith. And on the task, I'll name the task how I am going to start the call. So I have to remember, like, hey, how was Colorado? And then be like, hey, I was actually calling for a reason. That house up the street sold for $300,000. Did you see that? Just thought it'd be some pretty good news. I figured I'd share it with you. And that starts a conversation. And then be like, awesome. Hey, you have a good rest of your day, whatever it is. And then it'll eventually he'll say something that's like, oh, that's really interesting. How many bedrooms? Like they'll start to ask questions like, okay, he's interested now. I'm like, hey, just curious, like, what makes you interested? And like, have you considered moving, or you think about upsizing down? That's what starts the conversation. Like the real one. Okay, like now we're going to be selling a house here soon. And then I complete the task, and then I set up another task for next month, next week, next 3 months, whatever I feel his like timeline is. And then I have the next setup.
That's cool.
No campaigns.
Do you go have a like average iteration, like how often that you're contacting them, or is it just kind of based on their situation?
It has to be at least 10 follow-ups before someone transacts with me or like contract. There was like I don't know who said this. It's like the vast majority of business doesn't even, it was like 90+% of the business starts after the 6th follow-up or 7th or 8th follow-up.
Yeah.
I used to know the stat to a T. That is true. That is totally true.
Awesome, man. Well, cool. And how often would you say that you call them? How are you calling them 10 times within 30 days? Has it taken several months? What have you seen on average?
It depends on the lead source. So I told my first whole year was like for sale by owners. And I quickly realized, like, if I wanted to do more deals, I could not do for sale by owners because it is extremely follow-up intensive the way I did it. Because the only way to really be successful in FISBOs is you and get full commission. That's also the other portion, is you follow up so many times and you are just their agent without being their agent for 30, 60, 90 days. Sometimes they sell without you, sometimes they don't. But it's so many follow-ups that you don't have time to like add more and there's only so many for sale by owners. So I was like, all right, I have got to get out of this. And so then I was like, and also for sale by owners, I was driving an hour just anywhere that would take, if they had a heartbeat, like that sounds good to me. Then I figured I want to be in Flowery Branch. So, I built my whole business off of door knocking now. It's like, that's the second iteration of my business is door knocking and circle prospecting, just Flowery Branch. It depends on the lead. Like, did I get the lead from I'll door knock. And then when I finally find somebody that's willing to sell, well, then I'll do an open house. And then at that open house, I'll find a buyer for that buyer. Then I'll go do more door knocking for that buyer. That'll turn into another listing. At that listing, it'll be another open house. Like, so now it's like this like flywheel that doesn't really stop. So if it's the actual door knocking, the follow-up is like 10, 20 times, because those people take a year, 2 years, but eventually they all hit. If it's open houses, I've been able to take people 2 times this year. Like, I met them at the open house and we are under contract and closed within 40 days. It depends on the lead source. Handwritten letters work really well as well. So it depends.
Oh, that's awesome. You got this handed down.
Quick break. If you're a high producing real estate agent who's already figured out the money part but keeps losing ground on your time and your health, that's exactly who the Freedom Agent was built for. We're a coaching and VA connection platform specifically for agents who are ready to run the same business in half the hours. Whether that means building the right virtual team, the right systems, or just finally getting somebody in your corner who's done it, we've got you. Check us out at freedomagent.net. All right, back to it.
All right, you've really given us some really good information on how you've really mastered this system, especially here with FSBOs, open house, like that whole flywheel that you just talked about was amazing. So I want to ask a little bit deeper of a question of you. Okay, what is the part of this business that wears on you the most?
The problem with the prospecting based business is it's a sales business. So you always have to make more sales. It's not very marketing based. And so, the good part of that is this year specifically, I've created a lot of like database prospecting systems. So it's, my time is a lot more leveraged. Whereas when I was just cold calling, circle prospecting, door knocking, if I was not on the doors or if I was not on the phones, I just was not making money. Like, it's just, now I have a system that I at least run people through. So as long as I'm always adding people to the system, I'll make more money either this year or next year, either way. So that's probably what weighs on me the most is like, how can I completely get out? And I know the answer, but it's just a matter of time. But like, how can I completely get out of the prospecting, the hardcore prospecting? I don't mind it, but obviously I don't love it.
All right. So define for our audience what you would describe as that hard prospecting.
Door knocking, cold calling, like
door knocking, cold calling. Okay.
I guess open houses for some people, I don't think that's too tough, but I mean, some people think it's annoying or tough.
Okay. And what is it that you don't like about it?
It's just hot. I mean, it's not fun, and you're getting rejected. You're getting told no 100 times, and it's never fun. But like, it's also fun to make money. So like, I don't mind it.
So you're getting one versus the other. Okay. So you kind of mentioned a way that you're getting out of it, and that's the second part of this question. What is it that you're doing about it to transition out of doing the things that you don't like to do?
The database prospecting. So like, I have everybody in database. I've organized it. I have a system around it, and there's a way for me to reach out to multiple people at once. Whether it's it depends on what category they're in. Whether they're like in my 36 touch, my outer, my inner circle, my A+ people, and how many the frequency in which I follow up with them. But those are the people that already like know and trust me. It's just a matter of time that before they refer me to someone or refer someone to me, or they want to transact.
So how are you building your database?
What do you mean?
So you say you have a database system, right? And we need people to go into the database. So how are you building that system of your database? How are you building that out?
Follow boss. Like, are you saying like?
I'm saying, how do you procure the names that you're putting in the follow boss? I'm sorry.
Door knocking, cold calling, open houses.
Okay. So you're putting in people that you've had live conversations with, and it's basically just, you're not just dumping leads that you purchased in there. It's actual live conversation. So you're just making sure that we can go back to those later.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Awesome. Are you doing anything else outside of your database?
No, I've never purchased a lead in my life or any of that. That's almost like sacrilegious.
Yeah. I want to give you a virtual high five for that because heck
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's pretty amazing. Most people at your point are already paying to play. So that's amazing. All right. So we already kind of know your numbers. I want to go into the second part here where I'd like you to give some advice to somebody. All right. So if you could give a piece of advice for somebody doing maybe 4 million in volume, trying to grow right now, what advice would you give them?
Reach out more. You have to have more conversations. It doesn't matter how.
Just have more conversations. Is there anything specifically about doing that? What if you have somebody like yourself? Like, I don't like going out there and knocking on doors. What if there's a dog? What if what if somebody's yelling at me? I don't want to pick up the phone because I'm fearing rejection. What would you say to that person to help them just push through it to get to that next level?
I'd ask yourself, like, what do you need the money for? Like if you're living by yourself in your parents' basement, yeah, you may not, like the comfort that you have may just not be worth it. So you're like, yeah, I'm just not going to go door knock. Totally cool. But if you have a family that you want to pay for and like provide for, and make sure you have a good life and they also enjoy their life, then just understanding that you going out in the hot sun, walking around, knocking on doors and maybe a dog, maybe a gun gets pulled on you, maybe the cops get like, it's just a fun story that you're going to tell later, but it's ultimately you decide if that uncomfort or discomfort is worth making more money than making less money.
That's awesome. So I want to go back. This is a little off script than what I was going to ask, but you had mentioned this earlier, and I wrote it down. And you had told your wife, after you saw that, hey, I can only save $500 a month. This isn't getting us to our goals. How do we transition into real estate? And you told her, it's like, I'm just not going to see you until we get this done. Like, that's a huge sacrifice that you had to make. I know that later on you said that, hey, I don't work Saturdays now because I need to devote that back to the people I love, right? So what led you down that road to finally go, I don't care, I'll lose the listings or buyers. I need that time for me. I need that time for my relationship, right? So what was it? What was that moment that said, dead stop, no, I have to give myself some time back?
That was actually from the start. So
yeah.
Right when I got into, I'm a big believer. So if the Lord, the God of our universe, the creator of our universe worked for 6 days and took a day off, I think we would be so arrogant to think, oh, I can work 7 days like that. I would think that's a very arrogant mentality. Like, oh, he can, take a day off, but I don't need that. No, like we are to work 6 days and then the seventh day we are to rest. And so I just told everyone like, hey, I don't work Saturdays. And then if they want to meet with me on Saturday, I'm like, I can do Sunday. What works best for you? And I'm not, some people ask if like I'm Seventh Day Adventist. Like it's just, by the way, I think the original Sabbath was on Saturday anyways, but it just was the day that I had off from my other job. So it just worked out. If it was a Wednesday, it's a Wednesday. I don't think God is like, oh, it has to be a Saturday. He's not super, super strict on it. But I was like, Saturday is my day off. So suck. They want to work with me. One of them was like a big listing one time and they wanted to work for me on a Saturday. Like, hey, I don't work Saturdays. Sorry. And they're like, well, I'm like, yeah, well, if you want to work with me, I'll meet with you on Sunday. If not, totally understand. They met with me on Sunday. We listed it. I mean, it doesn't like, if they want to work with you, they'll work with you. So just like, no, some people want to do showings all the time. They're like, I want to do showings. Cool. Friday or Sunday, like what works best for you. And they understand. They're totally cool.
Awesome. I love that you drew the line. And I think that equates a lot to the audience thinking too that, hey, I'm a good agent because I give my clients all the time. You don't have to do that, right? And from the sounds of it, it's not like they need Tristan to work every hour of every single day. They need the best version of you when you're out to sell their home or help them purchase. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And I think most people are willing to be like, I'll do it because they don't have enough deals in the pipeline. So they're like, if I lose this one, now I'm not making any money. Where they're like, so I'll just do it this time. But like, no, you just start from the stop. Like, I just don't do that.
You're freaking rock star, man. I love it. If people want to find you and maybe reach out to you, connect to you on social, how can people find you, Tristan?
Tristen Adams on Facebook. I'm wearing a blue quarter zip with a beard.
All right. We'll look for the beard for sure. The thing that really stuck with me, we kind of talked about it already. I love your touchdown reference. Like the thing you were like, hey, you're not going to call every single time. You're not going to throw a pass and get that 70-yard freaking touchdown. You're going to have to do some running plays. You're going to have to do some quick dumps outside. You're going to have to be able to do that in order to continue to score, to get listings, things like that. I love the football analogy, by the way. I really was nerding out on that. I love that. I think that's really going to hit a lot of people. It did for me. Than you might expect with that. So again, anybody else listening here too, I know we talked about our Freedom Agent. It is available on Amazon for that book. So if you want to go ahead and check it out, there's audio, you can get you can get the ebook or the actual physical book. It's all there. It's a field manual for you. For everybody else, you can go ahead and visit freedomagent.net for anything further on this. But Tristan, it was an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. And I think you're going to continue rocking it for the years forward.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you.
We appreciate you being here for this episode of the Freedom Agent Podcast. If you're serious about scaling your business without working nonstop, check out the free resources, the webinar, and the Freedom Agent book below. We'll see you in our next episode.